going to be our feedback person.
Oh, thank you. So Hannah is going to be the feedback person. Hannah, will you put your email address in the chat for everybody, please?
And yeah, that's very helpful if everyone puts their emails in there.
Thanks for catching that, Yabi. That was good.
All right. Our topic is we're going to be talking about.
All right, my email should be up there.
Perfect. Maternal health and education. So we'll be focusing on is the overall of more of like rural area of Iowa. We're going to be looking at in the center Orange City area and also kind of that northwest Iowa part. What we're looking at there's a lot of moms who are whether they're first-time parents or not. It's just there's not a lot of resources out there when it comes to education about their pregnancy. They have a lot of questions that not everyone goes to a doctor's appointment. Some of them are not even aware of that they're pregnant until very later on. And so there's always this question that rises up, okay, what they're going to do. Like even the simplest questions are like, what should I eat? Is this something that eating some kind of food, is that good for my pregnancy or not? That kind of education. How is that going to affect their babies or and also their health? Then in addition to that is you're going to be looking at that after the babies come, like taking care of the child, different things, like what kind of, like one of the examples that we keep talking about, I can give my 5-year-old, just milk. What can I give the baby's milk? That kind of simple questions, that kind of parenting, until up to age 3. What kind of resources are out there? And also there's actually few resources out there, but our cliently, are they able to find it and be able to, is it accessible to them? So that's kind of what we looked at. And each of us kind of divided and did multiple interviews. So the agencies that I interviewed is one of them are Bethany Christian Services, which is in our local area, talks about adoption and kind of focuses on that. But also even though their focus is adoption, they also do work with families in general, like expectant families. So in my interview that I find out, last year in 2017, they worked with 30 families just in this area. So 30 expectant mom and dad mixed to that. From that, only 3 of them have placed their children for adoption. So the rest of them, 27 of them parented. So in that contact time within that year, they have had about total of 1,000 face-to-face conversations that included parenting, connecting them to resources and all those things. So they're getting those information through that. So they're getting that support is helping them getting those information out to them. So next Maddie will go and kind of explain about her part of the interviews and all that.
Yeah, so we utilize, so my agency did essentially a large needs assessment for basically all of Northwest Iowa. Anywhere that Seasons has an office, we send it out to providers. So you can see this spread here of who responded to it. We had a lot of parents, a lot of mental health professionals. Obviously, we sent it out to everyone that's employed by Seasons and other providers that we work with. And we also have a lot of school and educational professionals. So that's who most people that apply for this. There's also some that listed as others, whether they were advocates, some that felt they were applying because you could only select one. They felt that they had multiple roles, so like parent and medical professional. And then some of these are also like we gave clients the option of these. So some of them they're helpful, but they're sort of random is the word I guess I want to use. But so they're asking like really like questions of what county do you live in. So the largest we want is Clay, just because that's where Autumn Center is located. It's pretty heavily Autumn Center. There are some in Sioux County and stuff like that, but it asks other like these are just basic demographics, but it's how effective do you think these are? And so it's going through. And people could even say if they've had no idea, they're not familiar with these type of courses. Nurturing Parenting, you'll see, is the one that I utilize until my grant is up. And orange means, what does it mean again? It means that they are unfamiliar with or do not know. So, like, that's mostly, it isn't one that's widely as strengthening families or parenting, love and logic. That one's used pretty well. Parents as teachers is huge. And then this circle of security, which Ashley and Yabby's hospital utilizes, actually. Other people listed other things, but then, I mean, it covers huge. So it was actually a great resource for us, because it essentially created a lot of these, taking, 223 key informants that were somehow involved in these. So to be able to, get that widespread data was really helpful. And it is very widespread, because you have mental health providers, you have parents, you have school teachers. So everyone sees a different side of it. And so being able to use that is going to be really helpful. I wish we could use the graphs, but Julia says we need original graphs. So having to find a way, it'll probably take a larger, because this is every single question they break down into a graph, but taking an overall big picture look, what does this need survey mean? Because it's great to have all this data, but it's really difficult to say, what does it mean? I love this part. It's that people are actually saying they need more school-based knowledge in this, because it's not something that we see very often. It's usually, don't talk about those kind of things in school. Kids don't need to know that. How can we better help our kids? The last question that this needs assessment covers, and I won't scroll down because I'll get you all motion sick, but it asks, what do you think should change? And it was a fill in the blank. People could answer it however they wanted. And you got things from very angry people that just didn't think we were doing anything at all, and people that were like having actionable points that were really helpful. Like, this is what I'm seeing needs to be done. So being able to sort of take those and be like, what, that's a really awesome idea that we hadn't thought of ourselves, and those kind of things. But that's a big piece of our data.
And so my kind of section is I conducted a few interviews just to kind of see what are the needs, here in our community in Sioux County, and what kind of education are people finding valuable when it comes to prenatal care. Just, some stats. Sioux County is a very wealthy community or county here in the state. Your median, so this is middle of the road, household income is above, I think it was like 64,000 was the household income, but and that's growing. And so over half of the people that are employed in Sioux, or half of the population in Sioux County are employed, okay? And over half of that have received an education. But we do have an 8.27% poverty rate in our area. So because we're so wealthy, that at-risk people are getting missed. And
Ashley, this is your 2-minute warning.
Okay, and they're also getting missed in healthcare. So kind of a common thing that I found in my interviews was that people don't think that prenatal education should be mandatory for people to have, but it should be mandatory that healthcare providers are offering it. There aren't a lot of people that know about the resources available, and then the people that I interviewed that took prenatal education courses, your childbirth classes, they said that there were no minority people in those classes or people that seem to be high risk. It's your typical male-female marriage that have planned pregnancies. So, and they're seeing it in schools too, that parents that are at risk are not, that their kids are suffering in the classroom. So,
I'm going to jump in to wrap it up because I think we have a minute and a half. So I interviewed the parents' perspective. And the parents' perspective, I had interviewed a mother that is just recently found out she was pregnant. And I interviewed a minority that has 3 kids. And what we came to find out with interviewing the parents is that they didn't feel comfortable reaching out to the resources with the questions. They have been utilizing online Pinterest, Facebook, and web, Google search, and every horrific thing you can think of. And unfortunately, one of them is actually a family member of mine. And I was like, why didn't you ask me? So in our research, we have been tossing around different ideas about utilizing online services or some sort of crisis tool or app. And so based off our research, we're digging more into this online app. Is there any questions? I think we're at time.
You are just under the line. Very good.
I just have one question. I apologize if I missed this, but what was your primary question? And then also you had mentioned, sorry, I had two questions. The area that you were looking at serving, because I know you were looking at was it just Northwest Iowa or was it, okay.
So the primary question is essentially, what would it take to get parents, because that's all what it starts with, whether it's before pregnancy, during, or after, what would it take for parents to access education regarding their health, their child's health, and the development?
I guess that kind of clears up one of my questions. Was when I heard maternal health, I just think of pregnancy, but you're thinking down the road as well, up into what age?
When I interviewed, 3. And when I interviewed, because at 3 years old, AA sometimes steps in and they offer a lot of programs. When I interviewed parents, I had a question at the very end that says, what services do you feel that is most important? And two of the parents I talked to and some of the resources said that 6 weeks, people feel like they are dropped off the face of the earth and there's no one there for them to talk to. And so we wanted to make sure that we were also hitting every stage, whether it be for the child or the parent or the dad that has the question that doesn't feel comfortable asking someone.
So it sounds like similar, and I think this is going to be a theme running through all the groups, very typical. It sounds like you're at a place where it's really about starting to focus even more on the specific group that will be your benefit community, to narrow it even further, especially as you look for possible approaches to pull them in, right? And that's pretty exciting. And I know that this is just the data gathering part, I get that, but have you heard of, or have you been thinking about looking at other campaigns or models that folks have used in other parts of the country for this particular focus? That kind of online to personal relationship connection piece?
Yeah, so there's some, even around here, there's call a nurse kind of thing. So it's after hours, on call, do I need to take my kid to the ER kind of thing. Those kind of things. We haven't talked about modeling anything after that. Ashley actually has created in her hospital a proposal to incentivize parental education, because a lot of times parents don't want to do it unless they're court mandated or there's something in it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the education oftentimes just isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
So they want something. So it's similar to Stork's Closet, and so they can earn points towards things like that. So we've looked at models similar to that as well.
Great. I want to raise an idea this is for everyone. Sometimes the intervention is about creating a communication method to help people understand the resources there in a way that is meaningful to them and isn't threatening, and does create that bridge to the resource, right? Because a lot of times we deal with, well, we don't have it, and so we have to build it. But sometimes we have it, we just can't get people to it. right? For whatever reason, there's a barrier there.
We run into that issue a lot with parent education in this area. We've got 3 service providers with different agencies, and they do it, but we can't get people to take it.
Mm-hmm. So there's a barrier of some kind, right? And so for that piece of it, I want to just draw attention to, for all of you all, as you're thinking about when you move into this next phase, your textbook, right, is this tremendously rich resource. So when you look at Home On in this particular light, it's like, who's your market, or who's your audience rather, or your market, and then how do you communicate and that kind of thing. So those are going to be things to think about depending on the focus of your project. Other questions or feedback for this group? I didn't realize the median income for Sioux County was so high.
It's you kind of think of those rich farmers and a lot of business people, but and then our working population's high too. But I think because of that stigma, the at-risk people are being neglected. So that's important to consider, and judgment is the biggest barrier for these women to get help that they need. And they can't ask a provider how they can stop using drugs, but maybe with this good communication tool, they can say, I'm a heavy pot smoker. How can I quit effectively to save my baby and my health?
Yeah, and to add to what Ashley is saying is that is like she said, is with Sioux County being like with that income also, it's a very very small community. Kind of everyone knows everyone. So like she said, the unemployment rate is so low here. If someone's not unemployed or they don't have the money, and that population is being neglected. So the idea of this app that we've been talking about it would be so helpful, because there's that stigma of, I don't want to go ask for this help. I don't want to do these things. I don't want to hand out because someone's going to judge me. Kind of eliminates those situations from the comfort of their own home. They're able to ask this question. This might be some silly, small questions that they have, but they're also able to get the answer of the question that they need and be able to their needs be met and and also they can be connected to the services that they need without even having to leave their home.
Really interesting. It's really interesting stuff everybody's doing. Any other questions or feedback for this group? We've got 2 more minutes for this.
Did you guys notice anything as far as language barrier goes? Because I know Sioux County does have, or it's beginning to have, a larger population of Spanish speaking. Was that something that came up for you guys at all?
Yeah. So I know we don't have any bilingual services in Clay, but in O'Brien, Love Inc. has started to offer it in both English and Spanish, and they have about equal number being offered. And the thing is with theirs, though, it's hard to know because it's an incentive-based program as well. So in order for them to receive free back-to-school supplies, they have to do this parent education to continue to receive those benefits.
And Sioux County is heavily diverse too. Of course, we're still 88.3% Caucasian, but we are 9.6% Hispanic, and that's growing. And at the hospital that I work at here in Sioux Center, we have 3 full-time interpreters, and that are also willing to help with the program that I'm starting here at the hospital for prenatal and having prenatal classes in Spanish. So that's becoming an awareness and kind of closing that gap. And we also have Promise Community Health here in Sioux County to help with that.
Okay, very good. Very good, group. Nice work. Close that one up. I have a question for you all. So would you like to take your break a little bit early and do the next 3 groups after break, or should we push ahead with group 1, which is the folks working on teenagers? On teenagers, that sounds terrible. Concerned about teenagers, let's say it that way. Break now or break in 20 minutes? Any sense?
Can we take a break now?
Okay, first person to speak. All right, we'll take a break now. Come back in 10 minutes. So
Okay.
that is 7 o'clock. All right?
Awesome.
And we'll start with the next three.